Hello, my dear students. Today we are going to discuss working capital management. So before proceed into the chapter, let us look at the syllabus, which will be helpful to further our discussion. So this syllabus consists of basically 4 sections. One is introduction, another is operating cycle concept, third is estimation of working capital requirement, and financing of working capital. In financing of working capital, we will be discussing various approaches and also the norms of the bank for lending working capital loan. To systematize the discussion and to make it more, we would discuss this syllabus in 4 segments. One is management of working capital. In fact, this is nothing but management of net working capital. We will be discussing regarding this later on. Next, we will be discussing about different components of net working capital and management of that. So for that purpose, we will be discussing about management of debtor, management of stock, management of cash, and finally management of payables. And after this, we will be discussing about financing of working capital. That means how the working capital could be financed. So to make our discussion the checklist of our discussion, prepare plan of study. So in introduction, we will be discussing about concept of working capital and concept of working capital management. Secondly, we will be discussing about management of working capital, where estimation of working capital requirement will be done. Then operating cycle concept will be discussed, and thirdly, management of each component of working capital will be discussed in separate sections, and finally financing of working capital, where the 2 topics which I have discussed earlier will be discussed again. Now let us discuss about the concept of working. What is working capital? In fact, we have 2 types of capital. One capital is related to fixed asset. In fact, industry requires 2 types of investment. Investment in fixed asset, which offers fixed facility, and investment of current asset, which helps in maintaining day-to-day activities. Now, the capital of a business which is used in its day-to-day operation is called working capital. Now, we'll be discussing about the next topic, the concept of management of working capital. Here, 2 concepts are very important. One is gross concept and another is net concept. Now, depending upon the context, working capital management may be of management of gross working capital or maybe management of net working capital. Now, gross working capital is total current assets and Net working capital is net current asset, and this net current asset means total current asset minus total current liability. Now we will be discussing about introduction of the working capital management. We will keep on discussing about this. Now, grossly, management of current asset is management of working capital. Why this is so? Because there are basically two types of components. One is current asset and that is current liability. So, these current assets are more controllable item from the point of view of a company, whereas the current liability may not be controllable as desired. So, this working capital management many a times reduced to management of current assets. So, strictly speaking, management of net current asset is managing working capital. As generally the current assets are more controllable than current liability, management of working capital is basically managing current asset. So what is current assets? There are two very important aspects that is to be fulfilled to become one asset as current asset. So when an asset is realized in cash within 1 year or 12 months, so that is called current asset. There is another very important aspect, that is this current asset is used in for smooth functioning of day-to-day activities of the organization. So we can say like this: an asset that should be normally realized within 1 year and is primarily held to facilitate trading activities of the business and to meet urgent fund requirement is called current asset. Now we can see examples of current asset, or rather what are the components of current assets. So we can group these current assets into four different heads. Now inventory, and there could be receivables, there could be cash and bank, and there could be prepaid expenses as well. So now within inventory there is raw material, there is work in progress, and there is finished goods. And in receivable there is trade receivable, there is bill receivable. And cash and bank, there is cash in hand, cash and bank, and also short-term securities. And finally the prepaid expenses. So whenever the question of calculating total current asset will come, we'll have to add up all the components of current asset and we will be getting the total current asset. And whenever we will be deducting the current liability from total current asset, we will be getting now. What is current liability? A liability is current one if the liability is expected to be settled within 1 year and is held primarily to facilitate its business. Now what are the components? Basically there are two components. One is outstanding payment, one is outstanding expenses. So in outstanding wages and salaries, these are outstanding payments, and another is outstanding expenses. And another item of current liability is payable. So sundry creditors and also trade payables that comes under payable, which are current liability. So if we add up these factors, these outstanding payments and payables, then we can get the total current. Now, to understand the objective of management of working capital, the nature of management of working capital should be understood. As current asset is much more controllable than current liability, working capital management is basically management of current asset. Now again, working capital can be managed in two dimensions. One on the basis of total amount, that means how much working capital is required as a whole, and also how much working capital is required for each component. And secondly, on the basis of duration, how long, that means what will be the duration or what will be the time period for one particular current asset to be realized or to be converted into cash. So the management of these two things are the basic objective of working capital management. So from there we can understand that the objective can be discussed from two dimensions. One is on the basis of value. The cash is realized from components of working capital, whereas cash is required to be paid for meeting of current liabilities within a specified period. Thus, enough current asset should be kept in the business to meet current liability for smooth functioning of the business. One objective of the working capital management is to ensure adequate total working capital and also ensuring adequate amount of all components of working capital. So there is another objective which is based on the basis of the duration operating cycle.